From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And a questioning error is really right, because we're experimenting with a brand new show. This is the first, and who knows, maybe only one of 3 episodes of The Subjective Wars. We want to do something short and fun, where we talk about topics that, people have passion about, people have opinions about, but also are totally subjective. It's opinions. Science can't prove it. And the first topic that science cannot prove, other than, I guess, doing a large poll, is a topic related to Star Wars. We were thinking about what are some of the classic debates in Star Wars? What's maybe something that we haven't discussed, but 2 topics that are related that it's hard to pick a favorite between. We discussed, and Jennifer came up with a great topic for this first episode of Subjective Wars. It will be a titanic battle of our personal opinions to our favorite between Ewoks and Gungans. I think I've already revealed a preference by saying Ewoks versus Gungans instead of Gungans versus Ewoks.
Oh.
Yeah, it just flows. It flows.
It's alphabetical, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I want to start this conversation off with just gut feelings, a gut check at the very beginning of our conversation. Ken, when we came up with this topic, was this just a slam dunk for you of like, I already know my opinion. That's it. I'm done. I'm good.
No, it's very tough. It's very close, and this takes us through a journey of our fandoms and where we were with things then, where we are with things now, and I've got a lot of like historical context in my brain for both of these wonderful creatures. That doesn't seem right. That's the first debate. Do you refer to the Gungans as creatures? That probably makes me sound like I'm from Naboo, which is part of the problem. So I it's still a toss up.
Yeah. And Jennifer, for you, you are well known in ForceCenter and real world circles of loving the Ewoks. Is this a slam dunk for you?
I chose this because I know that you both are prequelists. And I was like, oh, they may really rally for the Gungans. And in doing I did a little bit of research, and I was actually kind of running for the Gungans. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Pros and cons.
Running for the Gungans. Yeah.
This is exactly what came to my mind. So no war there. We're in agreement on the song that popped into our head. So these topics are always fun to come up with because some of them are like really clear. Like maybe someday we'll do X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus Y-Wing. But Ewoks and Gungans, when you said it, it made such sense because they play such similar roles in the narrative of Star Wars. Jennifer, do you think that's why do you think that came to mind, and what do you think about how similar they are? They're decades, they're years and years apart in terms of when the films came out, but it is back-to-back movies where a looked down upon group that is seen as less than ends up being proud warriors who make a decisive difference in battles. How do you feel about the similarity between the Ewoks and the Gungans?
I chose this also because I want to stir up drama. Let's be real. And I knew that people were going to have such strong opinions. Precisely that is because it was like, oh, here we go again. I remember that time very, very well. And I think that they're often overlooked. We know that they were overlooked in universe. They're also overlooked and put down in real life. So I really want this to be a redemption story for both of these species. Because
there's so many good thoughts there. The first of which is, I thought Subjective Wars is a pretty good title, but I think, oh, here we go again is probably a better title for this very show.
That's such a wonderful college humor title for a show. Like,
here
we go again. Debate.
Ken, how do you feel about the similarity between the two groups? Have you ever we can revisit some of the 1983 spiciness that people had about Ewoks being too cute and Jar Jar and by extension the Gungans being too silly, but there's also the saltiness about like the Gungans are just the Ewoks again. Did you ever feel that in your cranky toward the prequel days?
Little bit. It was the same vibe, and Jen's so right. These are two species maligned both in story and out of the story in our real world, right? That's the connection, and yeah, I've been on a journey with both of them. And I'll say right at the top, I went from Ewoks to those were stupid, right? You could see their little zippers, to working with Jennifer Landa and going, oh. No, I actually really love the Ewoks. You influenced me, Jen. So this is going to be an interesting
wow.
discussion on that.
Yeah. I think that I think I saw the narrative similarities between the Gungans and the Ewoks, and also the mood, the vibe that the Ewoks definitely, while having narrative importance, they definitely were cute and fun, and they added some broad humor in Return of the Jedi that I think some Gen X members already jaded by the ages of like 6 and 9 were like, we don't want that. And then the Gungans did also provide that same kind of broad humor down to both Jar Jar and Wicket doing the trying to spin the weapon and hitting themselves in the head joke. So I always got they're the same, but I do not actually think they have similarities. But I think it's such a different thematic point, the idea of the Ewoks being they are entirely in their environment, entirely overlooked. The Gungans are the point to me of they're the symbiont. They're in this relationship with the Naboo. One's crisis is the other's crisis, which makes them very, very different. The Ewoks and the Rebels are kind of helping each other out, but it is not the same thing at all of the sort of the upper class of the Naboo and the literal lower class of we've chased you underwater. And the argument that Obi-Wan famously makes of like, but whatever happens to the Naboo, you're a symbiont circle, it's going to affect you. And I think it's sometimes overlooked that just the one line in the Phantom Menace of like, we're going to go round up the swamp dwellers we've heard about. So that symbiont relationship to me, makes them very different than the Ewoks narratively and thematically.
Yeah. All of it really filtering down to the mind of 7-year-olds. This connection, this political connection. But you got me thinking before we dive in. You got me thinking about the humor aspect too. We know George has a kind of a wacky sense of humor. I love the behind the scenes stuff of him trying. This is Jar Jar's walk, and kids will love this. And there's that, but I wonder if there's a attention to like, hey, I have some important messages behind these two groups, but I need to reach the kids, the young kids, to have them connect. So let's throw in some humor because it's going to be their favorite. But behind that, if they can grow up with them and learn, are some valuable lessons. I would love to get some quotes from George on that. We'll go meet him at a food court or a documentary background.
Yeah. The Gungans, I also think, are more technologically advanced. Is that an insult to the Ewoks' effective stone and rope weapons?
Maybe.
I mean, they have like an army. Like they're much more strategic in that sense, right? Like you see them all on the battlefield, and they are in formation. They have their fancy shields, right? Then they're buff.
Yeah.
With the exception of Jar Jar, who's just always kind of, silly, like the actual rest of the Gungans are quite tough looking. I would not want to go up against them.
That's a really good point because Jar Jar is funny and Boss Nass does spit when he makes a proclamation, so there's that.
Right.
But in general, they are like a serious organized army, whereas the Ewoks are really like, we came up with a plan, it's only half working. Hey, Steve, if that can be an Ewok name, come over here and help us with this rope because we don't have enough weight. That's different than we have organized lines, designed weapons. Pride in our military is real different than like Steve. Do you know how to make a Molotov cocktail? Which is the vibe of the Ewoks.
Right.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with either of you. I would question though, like when did they come up with the idea for trebuchets? When they were like catapults? Let's get someone airborne. There's something was underneath it all. I would love to know, were there great Ewok wars before Civil War that happened? This is curious because from a surface look, I think you're absolutely right, Joseph. I think there's a little bit of like, well, let's figure this out. Finally, we get a chance to do it. Or has Logray been dreaming for years? We'll just put logs and then
they have the Ewoks have like natural enemies in the cartoon, right, Jennifer?
Oh yes,
Mm.
yes. The Dulocs,
Yeah.
Morag, I think the like switch like
Mm.
character. Yeah, for sure.
I was expecting
Fascinating.
a yes or a no, not a ranked list in all the
Oh,
names. That's great. That's,
sorry.
no,
The
no, I'm
Hushas, which
impressed.
they ride. No, that's not right.
I'm
The
impressed is the point. All right.
rage.
We've compared a little bit of their humor, a little bit of their technology. I don't think we can avoid it much longer of
Mm.
who is our favorite. Now, of course, we can like them both, but for the sake of a fun, pithy episode of ForceCenter, we have
Yeah.
to pick one in the subjective wars. Ken, do you have a leaning and a rationale for your leaning?
Yeah, I started to over the years lean towards the Gungans. I
Okay.
think I have upon digging in deeper into the Clone Wars and into more of the Jar Jar stuff, especially early seasons Clone Wars. Jar Jar was still a challenge, right? Like and then upon reviewing it, just kind of digging in deep and then connecting with some deeper political things. I definitely think there's some British Empire, just colonization in general vibes, going on with even the war versus the Trade Federation. There's just some sweeping historical connections that I love, and because of kind of what Jen's saying, like I've always wanted to live in Bright Tree Village, but I think it's a functioning, thriving city, Oda Gunga, and I think I'd like to go there.
Yeah, no, it'd be a great place to visit, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
all
love the water, but I can get a rebreather, and head down there. I'm good.
yeah, but you pass through that bubble and you get all the aesthetic of being underwater, but you
Hmm.
pass through the bubble and it's all air and stuff in there, right? I mean,
Yeah, once you're in, you're good. You're good. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And if I could pass through some sort of forest energy bubble to get to Bright Tree Village, that would be great.
Mm.
Because that whole bubble walk that Obi-Wan does of like, ooh, look at me, I'm going through a bubble.
I love Jedi bubble walks.
Jedi bubble walks are great.
Hmm.
This is a torture to me because I have so come around on the Ewoks. I was of the age to really enjoy how dark Empire was, and then
Yeah.
I was shocked. As I've said before, I had action figures and I had teddy bears, and they never played together. And I was like, what?
Hmm.
Why are there straight up teddy bears
Hmm.
in Return
Hmm.
of the Jedi? And it took me a while to come around to them. I was like, okay, I get the point of them narratively. But then,
Hmm.
like, everybody made the murder bear jokes, and the truth of that, they're not as cute or as dopey or as just silly as I
Hmm.
thought. And my appreciation continues to grow. For the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, I saw it in the theater at the Academy Museum with a bunch of
Mm.
diehard fans wanting to see it. And like, it's one of the more obvious jokes in the entire film, but I never really let myself absorb it as a joke. The happy Disney-like work song that they're singing when
Oh
they're
yeah.
about to cook our
Hmm.
heroes barbecue.
Hmm.
It's just like,
Dooga.
I
Yep.
never let myself appreciate how dark that was. Like, what are the lyrics? Is that like smell the burning flesh of the intruder? Is that what Luca 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 means? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
It made me appreciate
Hmm.
them so much more.
Hmm.
But I have a slight Gungan leaning because of the complexity of their
Hmm.
society. I
Mm, mm,
love
mm.
I love that they have this separation from the Naboo. That the Naboo are portrayed to us in most ways as like a really thoughtful, advanced people, and they still let this sort of schism
Hmm.
happen where they treated
Yeah.
the Gungans as less than. Implications in books that there was violence in the past, and
Yeah.
then just that kind of bright, hopeful future of like, we got to turn this around. Next film, Jar Jar is in the Senate.
Center.
In Attack the Clones, when Padme and Anakin land on Naboo, we see some Gungans up in the Naboo city, having a
Hmm.
conversation. It looks like they're outside Naboo Starbucks, whatever that is.
Right.
It's a subtle part of the story, but I love how much the Naboo, even a good culture, is failing the Gungans, and then it all
Hmm.
gets turned around. It makes me just so fascinated with the Gungans,
Yeah.
and also
No,
how Jar
absolutely.
Jar met Queen Julia of the Bardata. Like what
Oh
sort
yeah.
of weird, exchange that was about. Anyway,
Yeah.
I have a slight leaning toward Gungans. Jennifer, what's
Wow.
your leaning?
Wow. Well, the gloves are coming off
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
going to handle this Ewok slander.
Mm.
All right. So
Mm.
here's the thing. This is
Yeah.
in doing. I did a little bit of research. I'm getting a little heated here. The thing about the Gungans, the problem that I have with them is that they can be kind of they're not loyal. Look at what they did to Jar Jar. They cast him out because he was clumsy. I don't think that, as we know, this is not his fault. He just is more prone to accidents than the average Gungan. Okay? So they cast out one of their own. You look on that battlefield. Now, granted, it's a sea of CGI, right? So
yeah. All doing the same.
It's a sea of CGI. You don't get a lot of different personalities when you look out on that battlefield. I can't.
Ooh.
Besides Boss Nass, I don't really know much. Boss Nass and Jar Jar are really the only clear and Captain Tarkles. Captain Tarkles, right?
Yeah. Captain Tarkles. Yeah.
I don't really know much about them as a society, other than like they don't like Jar Jar. Now you go to the Ewoks. Here, Tebow, if you go to the Ewoks cartoon, Tebow messes up all the time. He is still a part of that tribe. You know, Logray is taking him under his wing.
I don't trust
his
Logray.
furry arm because he that's his apprentice, and like he wants to mentor him. He's not going to cast him out of the tribe. They are a family. They little nippet right in the basket, observing everything. This is like know that they're going to stick by you no matter what.
Oh no, Jennifer, you just changed my mind. They have a storytelling hut.
They have a storytelling. They have a medicine man. They have a chief. Right?
We don't know. We have a boss. We have a boss. You don't know if there's a Gungan romper room. We don't know that.
That's true. I mean, they might have a storytelling bubble, and granted that the hut is probably not always for storytelling.
It's about coming together and working as a group and supporting each other. And they're a little bit scrappier. But quite frankly, if I had an Ewok, I'd be more afraid of going up against an Ewok just because they're so unpredictable. They would want to eat me. Gungans, I don't think would want to hurt or eat the Naboo people. I don't see them.
That's why I'd rather hang out with them.
Right?
I mean, only if it's roadkill, right? If a Naboo person gets hit by a car and they're roadkill, then it's okay, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that they would do that. That's like a level of savagery, right? But they're also and we also know that they can be sophisticated. Remember Pika? Was it Pikpa? What was her name?
Pikpa.
Yeah, Pikpa, right? the hacker. Yeah, in the book. Yeah.
So we know that they have the capacity to do advanced technology as well.
I mean, you're making some great points. We all know Poplu has a bit of a drinking problem and a wild card aspect to him, and they used him to their advantage. I think there's definitely a Ewoks stronger together kind of vibe going on there. It's the a little bit of the purpose going on behind Bright Tree Village. Look. Boss Nass is just we've learned more of them after. Boss Nass was a gregarious, blessed individual, we'll say, and dominated the headlines. But I think he did it from a good point. He was a protector. He felt he had to be a shield, both a literal and figurative shield to his people. And he didn't trust you. He didn't trust you. You don't get to know my buddy Tarples. Because look what's happened to us. So they're a little standoffish. That I'll agree. Ewoks, but the Ewoks were too. They're poking and prodding and trapping and do.
I think that they're protecting their village, though. It was it's a matter of survival. I think I worry about Boss Nass being too much of a narcissist, wanting people to bow down to him. Like, what are he wants to be almost king in some sense. I think it's also about his own power and his own ego.
But I would rather deal with the ego of Boss Nass than the Machiavellian whispers of Logray in Chirpy's ears. But I don't trust Logray.
Logray can be overthrown, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he can be overpowered. And I was leading with my head in a lot of ways by thinking about the sort of the thematic meaning. But the more I think about it from a sort of heart perspective of where would I want to live? Now, I wouldn't want to visit the Ewok village before they learned humans were their friends and not food.
Right.
But after, They got story time. They throw great big parties. They have. I'm a drummer. They love drumming on helmets
Music.
and whatever they can find. They love music. They love story. I think I'm being persuaded. I also feel like there's an emotional elephant in the room. Jennifer, you made such a great point about seeing a lot of differentiation in the Ewoks. Does this come down to we needed a shot in the Phantom Menace where sadly one Gungan died and another sadly pushed on that Gungan, like we have that shot of the Ewoks? Is that what was there not
that's
enough
a great point.
emotional manipulation?
That could be it.
In terms of Gungan casualties, Ken?
We didn't see a baby Gungan, which what are they called? Googles. We needed Gungles. We didn't see that, and we didn't see our version of Nanta died. Yeah, you're right. If Jar Jar had wept over a fallen comrade, that might have pulled you in a little bit.
That would have definitely changed the tone.
Yes, yes, I think so. Yes.
Because we know there was casualties. We know there was sacrifice in the name of the pursuit of freedom here and defense of the world. So I think we all in our generation and beyond. I think whoever rediscovers it, no matter your age or generation, Nanta's death is it's the Optimus Prime. It's the Bambi's mom. It's a death that stays with you.
It's
shocking. It was shocking. I was like, "What? They can't kill." But of course, this is war. This is the reality.
I wonder if you synced up Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace and played them at the exact same time, if the Nanta tragedy would happen at the exact same time as Jar Jar hits his groin on the tank.
Using the Boomba Jar Jar. It's just around that time. And then it's just like, Nancy's dying.
Yep,
Nancy's dying.
all at the same time. Well, I feel I've perhaps led us afield with with that talk. But we're gonna head toward wrapping up here, and I'm gonna change my vote. I'm gonna solidify toward Ewok.
Okay.
I didn't want to have a generational bias. I really love the Gungans, but if I'm just being honest, it is about we do see a lot more of the culture of the Ewoks. It's story time and drum circles and whatever's in that pipe.
Sure.
I gotta give my heart to the old murder bears. So Ken, are you still staying Team Gungan?
Look, I'm staying Team Gungan because I hope that some of this is going to change. You're both making great points about we don't know them as well. We weren't allowed to, and I blame the Naboo for that. But here's the thing: I am predicting in Mandalorian season 4, which will be a season, not a movie. Keller and Beck is going to take Grogu to the Gungans. I'm predicting that, and that you're going to see them in a new light, caring, welcoming someone that is not them after lessons learned from the past. Grogu is going to grow up a little bit in their safety, and you're going to see that's how he maybe got to where we ended up. Were they the ones that lost him? Maybe, but that I think you're going to spend some time with the Gungans and Mando 4.
Yeah, I think that is a bold and good prediction that Keller and Beck will meet Jar Jar Binks in the ultimate expression.
Yeah.
Of Star Wars technology. All right, Jennifer, this was your topic. This was something that you felt passionate about, and you are the deciding vote for our take on Gungans.
I'm the deciding vote? Well, I mean, you know what I'm going to pick. Of course. This game is rigged. I mean, and I know so many.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
So this is about favorites. I mean, there's no way.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Ewoks, and also because I feel like it still is a battle for me when I'm talking with fans. People still don't like them. And I feel like Gungans have had a bit of a redemption in more recent years. I feel like I'm still sticking up for my little furry friends.
I was gonna. Yeah. Do we know that answer? We can't in terms of stats and science, but are the Gungans more accepted because the prequel generation is stronger?
I think so.
Adapted a little bit, where our generation might be angry in cars a little bit more still. So. Okay.
Yeah, well, and it is a fascinating study in the backlash where all of the Ewoks were disliked by those who disliked them. whereas Jar Jar took on the brunt. I think
Right.
if in 1983 people were like, we kind of don't like the Ewoks, but we despise Wicket in particular.
Right.
They
That
did,
would be
yeah.
that's a different kind of backlash. So I think the
Yes.
Gungans via Jar Jar were in more need of a reassessment and a celebration.
Yes, well said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to, yeah.
Okay,
That's
so maybe
fair.
the Gungans have won culturally, but today on this episode of Subjective Wars, the Ewoks have won. These are, of course, our opinions. Not even who would win in a fight. That's a different episode later of physically who would win in a fight between the Gungans and the Ewoks. But for today, our subjective answer is the Ewoks. We would love to know your subjective opinion. Who do you prefer between the Ewoks and the Gungans, and why? You can even share what you love about both of them. Just let us know your Ewok and Gungans opinions in the comments. We're very excited to be experimenting with this show. It's fun to talk about which one you like more and which one you don't like, or what problems you got, all that. But we always want to keep it fun and friendly and have fun doing it. We're going to talk about some Star Wars things going forward. We're also going to talk about just some other pop culture stuff and some life stuff. We're excited to keep having these subjective wars. Ken, you pretty much have our list of where we can be found memorized, don't you? Am I putting you on the spot if I say tell people where to find us?
No, absolutely. I've been saying it for 9 years now, even with the addition of Threads. You can follow us on Twitter, which we still refer to as Twitter as ForceCenter Pod, but we are on Threads. We're on Hive Social. Maybe we'll get to Blue Sky. There's invites out there. We'll see who wins those not subjective social media wars. We are also on Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe over there. If you're watching, leave a comment below. Do all those things you hear creators ask, because it's important. We're on TeePublic for merch, tpublic.com/users/ForceCenter. Podcast is available everywhere. Just search, you'll find us. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Follow me at Ken Napzok, or go to my website, kennapzok.com, for more, including where to find my band, the Moon Agers. We got some songs out there. A new EP was just released. Jennifer, I concede the, not victory, but I concede the moment to you here. We're not keeping track. This isn't a debate show where we keep track of points, no championship belts, no screaming at each other. This is a place to discuss things we love. But where can they find you and more of your Ewok content?
You can find my video essay on the Ewoks. Not yet, maybe, or at least on Ewoks on Ice, at Jennifer Landa on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
Excellent.
Beautiful. Great job, Joseph. Good idea on this show. Take us home with where they can find you.
Well, for anybody listening on the podcast, we appreciate you listening on the podcast. Come check out the YouTube, at least at the end, and see that Ken never broke eye contact with his camera while listing all the places we can be found. He does straight up have that memorized. It's very impressive. I can barely remember my social media handle, but it's at Joseph Scrimshaw on all the social media, Blue Sky and Instagram in particular. If you want to check out other adventures I got going, comedy albums, short films, you can visit my website at josephscrimshaw.com. But for now, the subjective wars have begun, and for now, ended. Thank you very much.